Hi everyone, my name is Gutierrez and I'll be your tour for today. And for today's tour, we're going to visit, explore, and discover the Mesopotamian civilization. And here's a secret, this is a tour to remember. So first, as your tour guide, let me ask you, what do you know about the Mesopotamian civilization? Yes, that's right. Mesopotamia is a region of Southwest Asia in the Tigris and Euphrates river system that benefited from the area's climate and geography to host the beginnings of human civilization. And a fun fact, or this is not a fun fact but is a real fact. Do you know that Mesopotamia is formed from the ancient words Meso and Potamus? Mesa means in the middle or in between, and Potamus means river. So it means Meso in the middle, Potamus of the river. So Mesopotamia means it is in the middle of the two rivers, which is the Tigris and the Euphrates river system. And for our first stop, or for today's agenda, we're going to visit the cities of the wonderful Mesopotamia. So we're going to visit the great cities of the old civilization. Are you ready? Or are you excited? Oh, me too. So, we're going to take a look, a sneak peek of what are the cities of the ancient Mesopotamia. So the first city is the Uruk city. It is also known as the Great City of Ziggurat. Uruk was an ancient city located in the present day, which is Iraq, situated roughly 250 kilometers south of Baghdad. Do you know that Uruk was the first major city in Sumer built in the 5th century BC, and it is also considered as one of the largest Sumerian settlements and most important religious centers in Mesopotamia? Yes, that's right. If we're going to look at the structure of the city, you can see how tall and strong these buildings are. So, Uruk was also considered as the first major cities in the history of the world. It reaches its peak around 2900 BC, and it is estimated population was nearly 80,000 people, making that large city in the world. And it is also located in the southern part of the Mesopotamia along the banks of the Euphrates River. So if you're going to look at the picture, you can see the river. So it was also the center of the Sumerian civilization. It was able to grow so large because of advanced farming and irrigation techniques. Who wouldn't? Look at the resources, look at the water surrounding them, right? And it was also later turned into a mythical hero through the tales of his exploit and superhuman strength. Who knows? Who of you knows the Epic of Gilgamesh? So, that's Gilgamesh. Yes, he is the protagonist in the Epic of Gilgamesh. That's why it's his story. Yeah, so Gilgamesh is the king of the first dynasty and hero of the famous epic named after him. And he built walls of city 4,700 years ago as cuneiform texts indicates Indiana temple complex there. So Uruk city was an important city because of the two reasons. Because of the religion and science. So it is confirmed by thousands of clay tablets dug up, and that goes back to the beginnings of the writing of the 500 years ago, and the invention of which Uruk played a major role. So that's our first stop, the Uruk city. Does any one of you have any questions? Or should we go to our next stop? And our next stop is City of Akkad, or it is also known as Agade or Agade. So if we're going to look at the structure of these buildings, we can say that it is like from the palace from Aladdin. Yes. So the city of Akkad was as the center of the world's first empire, the Akkadian Empire. Who knows the Akkadian Empire? Yes, this is the people of Akkad. And they are under the leadership of who? Yes, that's right. Sargon the Great. So, um, uh, around 2300 BC, Sargon the Great rose to power. He established his own city named Akkad. So, that is Sargon the Great. Yes, he conquered many of the Sumerian city-states and took control of the Mesopotamia. And then, as he is very powerful, he attacked the Uruk city and he fought back and eventually conquered the Uruk. He then went on and all Sumerian city-states and united northern and southern Mesopotamia under a single ruler, which is him. So, that is the Sargon the Great, the one who built the city of Akkad. So far, does any one of you have a question? So with that, we're going to take a 5-minute break and we will go to our next stop. So we're back. So as I was saying earlier, we're going to our next city or our next stop, and that would be Ashur, or it's also known as Assur. So, Assur is located in the northern part of the Mesopotamia and the western bank river of the Tigris. Assur became the first capital city of the Assyrian Empire, and although other cities would later take over as the capital of the Assyrian Empire, Assur was always recognized as the religious center of this empire. Assur was named after the primary god of the Assyrians. This city and the god are sometimes called Ashur. So don't be mistaken. The city is also called as the Ashur and also their god, or the one the people believed in. So the first empire of the Assyrians rose after or when the Akkadian Empire fell, and when the Babylonians took control of the southern Mesopotamia, and that is the cue or the reason why the Assyrians took over the North Mesopotamia. And one of their strongest leaders during that time was King Samshi-Adad. Under him, the empire expanded to control much of the north, and the Assyrian grew wealthy. Look on the structure of this city. We could say that people here is really wealthy. However, um, all the leaders, um, all of the leaders die, and Samshi-Adad death is the reason why the Assyrian grew weak and soon fell under the control of the Babylonian Empire. And that is our next stop, City of Babylon. So that is the city of Babylon. So it is famous for the Hanging Garden of Babylon. I know all of you are familiar with this Hanging Garden, although it doesn't have the evidence that it really existed, but it is written in the history because um, it is the Hanging Garden is made by Hammurabi for his lovely and beautiful wife. So first, city of Babylon, whose ruins are located in the present-day Iraq, was founded more than 4,000 years ago as a small port town on the Euphrates River. It grew into one of the largest cities of the ancient world under the rule of Hammurabi. The town of Babylon was also located along the Euphrates River in the present day and is about 50 miles south to the city of Baghdad. It was also founded around 2300 BC that the ancient Akkadian-speaking people of, or they are the Akkadian-speaking people of the southern Mesopotamia. So, let us see who Hammurabi is. Yes, that is Hammurabi, and he is known for his code, or it is also called as the code of Hammurabi. So Hammurabi turned Babylon into rich, powerful, and influential city. He created one of the most earliest and complete written legal codes, which is the Code of Hammurabi. And this code provides some of the earliest example of the doctrine of lex talionis, lex talionis, or it is the law of retribution, or sometimes better known as an eye is for an eye, a tooth is for a tooth, or in Tagalog, mata sa mata, ngipin sa ngipin. So, yeah, the law explains for a revenge and for what you have took, it must be taken from you also. So, although Babylon was a successful and rich, powerful, and influential city, it is just short-lived because of the death of Hammurabi, and it is reverted back to a small kingdom for several centuries. So, I hope there were artifacts or evidences about the Hanging Garden because according to the descriptions, it has a number of flowers, and yes, I think is beautiful if it is preserved by to until today. But sadly, it is. But maybe it is because of the natural resources or because of the destructions of the people, because people that time are conquering states or cities. And maybe that's the reason why there are no evidences that this exists. So after that, are you all hungry? No? Should we go to our next stop? Yes, okay. So our next stop would be the Kalhu, or in the modern time, it is called the Nimrud city. So it became the capital city of Assyrian Empire in the 13th century. And although the city later fell into ruins, the great king Ashurnasirpal II rebuilt the city and made it Assyrian capital once again in 880 BC. Nimrud was home to some of the most magnificent palaces built in the ancient history. The palace of Shalmaneser III covered over 12 hectares and had more than 200 rooms. If we're going to look or just look at the picture, we would say that this has been a big, huge, and great place. And 200 rooms for a palace, that's a lot. So, yeah, that is the Nimrud, the capital city of the Assyrian Empire. So, our next stop would be the Nineveh. Nineveh or Nineveh. So, this is the greatest city of Assyrian Empire. It became a large city in the world and had height of the Assyrian Empire. The city was largely built under the rule of King Sennacherib around 700 BC. Look at the walls. That great walls of Nineveh enclosed an area of 7 square kilometers and had a 15 gates. What? 15 gates. There were also 18 canals that brought water to different area of the city. And Nineveh was the home to King Ashurbanipal, the last great king of the Assyrian Empire. Repeat after me. King Ashurbanipal. I'm I'm messing now. King Ashurbanipal. So he was the last great king of the Syrian Empire, and under his rule was um a library, or a great library was built and housed over 2,000, no, let me rephrase that, 20,000 clay tablets. Much of we know about Mesopotamia is from these clay tablets. So everything we know about the Mesopotamian civilization is because of this great library that has been built under the rule of King Ashurbanipal. And Nineveh is also famous from the story of Jonah and the whale from the Bible. Have you ever encountered it? So, in the story, God tells Jonah to travel to Nineveh, but Jonah refuses. Why does he refuse? So, Jonah tries to run from God, but is swallowed by a great fish and spit out on the shore. Jonah then travels to Nineveh in obedience to God. So, yeah, that's it. That's the great city of Nineveh. Um, Under the city is a great library were built, and it is also mentioned in the story of Jonah and the whale. So, for our last city, are you all ready? I'm not, because this tour is going to end. I'm not yet ready, but there's a second day tomorrow. So, our last city would be the Persepolis. So, Persepolis is the center or the capital of the Persian Empire. The name is actually Greek for Persian city. So, Persepolis is Persian city in the Greek word. So, the city was originally built by Cyrus the Great around 515 BC, and other kings such as Darius the First and Xerxes completed the palace and other buildings. And the city was located on the southeast of Iran, and much of the city is being reconstructed by archaeologists. Look at the structure, and let's imagine if the archaeologists finish reconstructing this place. That would be great. We're going to imagine how does the people of Persian Empire lived. Yes, and some of the structure include the Gate of Nations, the Throne of Hall, and the Apanada Palace. Apadana. So yeah, that is the great cities of Mesopotamia. Has any one of you has questions regarding the cities? None? Why? So there are facts that you need to know about the Mesopotamia. So we all know that um, Mesopotamia came from the two words Meso and Potamus, and it means in between or in the middle of river, and that is Euphrates and Tigris. Mesopotamia is also home for the Fertile Crescent. So when we mean Fertile Crescent, it is a quarter moon shaped region in the ancient Mesopotamia corresponding to modern day the southern Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, Israel, and the northern Egypt. It is the locale commonly referred as the cradle of civilization because of the cultural and technological advancement made there, which include but are limited to agricultural techniques, domestication of animals, astrology and development of the zodiac, the concept of time, science and technology, the will, writing and literature, religion, mathematics and astronomy, long distance trade, and medical practices, including dentistry. Who knows that at that time there were dentistry? Yes, so designation of Fertile Crescent is frequently supposed to have originated in antiquity, but actually was coined in the 19th century by the Egyptologist. So, yeah, that's the thing or the things that facts that you need to know about the Mesopotamia. And there are also first in this region. In Mesopotamia, we have the first school, the first case of polishing or apple polishing, the first case of juvenile delinquency, the first war of nerves, the first bicameral Congress, the first historian, the first case of tax reduction, and so many firsts. And it is also the first Moses. Yeah, and that's it. I hope you enjoyed our tour around the great cities of the Mesopotamia, and I'm looking forward for tomorrow so we could explore the other civilization together. So, thank you for listening, and I am your tour Lakray Gutierrez, and I can't wait to meet you all. Bye!